Richard over there is focused. Oh, we're live on your thing? Oh, so the whole world is seeing this right now? Yeah. Cool. Everyone's getting some behind the scenes thing here. We're all saying hi to each other now. Okay, and Richard, give an intro to Nick. Say who you are. Dude, we are both hardcore holders. I love this. I love Richard. I really do, man. I want him just to go wild today. All right, and then Nick. Nick, introduce yourself to the other two guys.
Hi, guys. I'm a relative newcomer to the scene. Hopefully not too new. I'm an academic. I just finished my master's in finance, and I spent the whole year trying to perfect some tools to basically give investors better data on what's going on with cryptocurrencies right now. And I actually I'm working on publishing my dissertation, which is about governance in crypto assets, which is a pretty hot topic right now. So
you're no newbie, man. You've got it. Your Twitter feed is freaking awesome, and that's all linked to below. So we're gonna start on the show. My show is gonna start in a second, and we're gonna go. I'll just introduce all of you real quick and do my little spiel, and then we'll start with Richard and about this China thing and stuff, and then just go around from there. There'll be all sorts of topics. It's laid back, as most of you know, so feel free to ask each other questions. And I think this is kind of cool that on Richard's stream, people are getting a little behind the scenes of how I set this thing up usually. All right, so everyone, let's be silent for a second. I got to just put one thing up here. Where's my screen share? Oh God, there's so much. All right. Hang on. I'll say when we're starting. Lovely. Soon enough. We'll close this. Where's my? All right. So I'm pushing start, and we'll be live in a second. So hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is September the 8th, 2017. Buy and hold. Strong hand. All right. Remember, check out my link section below. We got important links to all the guests, to the cryptohwwallet.com. You can get your leather case for your storage device. Oh man, I just messed up everything. Shit. Oh my God. I God almighty, that really was bad. I pushed stop. How do I? Crap! Now we're only on Richard's channel. That has never happened before. Rats, and I don't curse on this thing.
See, everybody, this is the reason that we believe in decentralized systems, because no single party can fail and bring everything down. That's why we believe in redundancy.
Yeah, well, hang on a second.
I just like to say, pound that like button.
Yeah, no.
Smash that like button. Can we get 20,000 likes in the next 10 minutes, guys?
Dude, how do I get back on the? How can I restart that? Oh God, I'm gonna have to.
I've literally seen warnings that you can't restart it, so I don't know. I think you have to just use live instead of event. So instead of using event, if you had one scheduled, you have to use just live and give people a new link. I don't think you can restart an event stream.
God almighty!
Google's fucked some things up, man.
I know, man. Everyone's getting the behind the scenes today.
I mean, the other option is to just feed all your visitors to my channel because my shit's working good.
Yeah, well,
4K.
I mean, we can do it on Richard's, and then
We're already doing it. Like, you're
We
live
are.
now, man. This is like,
we're doing it. We're doing it on yours, but I'm losing this whole thing. I want to have it on mine.
I know.
Well, Adam, why don't we just all leave
to you,
and
man.
rejoin us? Send a new link to join. It's okay. We'll just start 5-10 minutes later.
All right. So Richard, you keep on I guess Richard will stay over here.
I'll just chat until you guys give me a new link, I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna send you a new
Just
link.
use live view instead of event, and then you can like come in and out all you like.
Okay.
So you click events, it's the top one that says like stream now.
Yeah. Hang on.
Just do quick Google Hangouts, it'll work. I'll mute you guys and just talk to my chat for now.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, chat. What's going on, guys? Got any smart people questions in here? I think we're going to be like 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds delayed because of the 4K stream. Hope you're enjoying that you can see this in 4 times more resolution for no particular reason than I bought the equipment and I want to use it. So that's what's up. I'm going to scroll up in chat and see if any of you guys had anything interesting to say here. Adam and Richard, 2 Bitcoin experts that aren't experts at all. Thank you very much. Literally knows nothing more than an average dude that stumbled upon Bitcoin in 2015. All right. Richard is a quality bullshit artist. I like this chat. This is good stuff. Why do I watch, you may ask? Answer, Richard is a quality bullshit artist. I guess that's when your meme doesn't work the first time. You like see if you can get responses by like making it better. Well done, Joey. Keep trying. You like to hear yourself talk, don't you? Nobody gives a fine fuck. I do, actually. I wish my voice was deeper, so oh well. Let's go on down. This guy has mental issues. I assume you're talking about somebody in chat. China banned soft cheese today. True story. All right. I've never been a fan of soft cheese. I like hard cheese that's been melted. That's pretty awesome. France tried to ban stinky cheese in the 1700s. Chat, you guys suck. These comments are neither funny nor intellectual. Like, up your chat game, guys. I'm going to scroll down a bit and just hope that it worked out better here. Richard, Miami Vicing it up today. Thank you. Shirt is nice. Put on a short sleeve over a t-shirt. Well, I could have worn like a long sleeve with a short sleeve jacket. Would have been stupider, right? Basically, I'm tired of sweating in these live streams because I have to turn the lights up. The lights are hot. So what you learn about lighting is that incandescent lights are the best near black body radiation lights that we have. They produce the best red color. When you use LEDs or fluorescents, they get too green, and blues are the like ultraviolet, neon, and reds just disappear. Yep.
One that's in
I
my.
can hear you.
Can you all leave my my
Give me a new
Google
link?
Hangout now? Just everybody hang up on me, and I'll reconnect to all you guys. Just
Okay.
But Richard, you can keep doing your.
Sure.
your
Yep.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a new link.
all right, cool.
Ciao.
All right,
So I'm just going to leave that window open until I get a new good link. Scrolling down, chat. Sad chat. No good questions, chat. How do you write comments without moving? I use my mind and telekinesis, obviously.
Wait, Richard, can you just like, totally hang up on
Sure.
mine? Just
Okay.
get out
it.
of this of mine. Yeah. Exit my thing.
I did it.
Continue.
Didn't I?
No, we're in
I'm
mine
still there. Sorry.
Yeah,
Doing it again. I guess I'm bad at interweb. See, that's the reason I didn't want to do that, Adam, because now they're reading confidential communications, and I don't like that crap. Let's see if I can pull open another window here. I'm just gonna have to wait on a link. Sorry, brah. Actually, I'll just be smart and I'll do this. Bloop. Oh, who's a genius over here? Back to chat. Dope suit homie. Richard Heart is straight savage. Thank you, sir. Smile. Buy the dip, baby. Free coins, cheap coins. Thank you, China Fud. Damn, chat, you guys are the worst. Come on. I want to be Richard's stylist. Please ask Adam to stop interrupting. How is that not an awesome question? I understand that you are a Bitcoin maximalist, but at least get some Dogecoin too. No. Let me check, see if I got a new link from homie. Gonna message him. Back to my chat. Tell us about the price of BTC. Well, as is so often in news from China, you get a rumor from somebody close to some agency that can do good or bad things. And you're 2 layers removed. So you're really 3 layers removed. So first, you're getting an incomplete signal from the agency, which is being proxied by an unnamed source, which is being proxied through a reporter, which is being proxied through your Google Translate or whoever you're having translate for you, unless you're a native Chinese speaker. So if you include the Google translation, you're about 4 layers removed from what is rumored action. And they used to do this all the time a few years ago. Ban, unban, ban, unban, ban, unban. And there was no rhyme or reason or predictability or intelligence that came of it. And if you've seen the Bitcoin price, they obviously left it in a state of unban because, nothing's banned. Like the only recent thing that has been actually banned is ICOs in China. And even that, only some portion of that was written, I like the Western style of law where the only law you need to comply with is the written stuff, and you don't have to worry about translated reporter rumors from people near a thing, rumor from people that can change their mind back and forth. It's pretty much garbage. So I would not be surprised. Like I doubt we'll even get to 4K today. And if we do hit 4K, I don't think we'll stay more than a minute under it. So I think I tweeted out that my guess is that a minute or two low at 39.80 was my guess. Now, mind you, this is crypto, right? So anything's possible, right? 20% drawdowns occur, not that infrequently. And I think 29% off of today's early day price would be something like 38.50. But I don't think that we're going to go that low. So if you're going to buy and you like buying dips and you like free money, I think that somewhere, in the 4K area seems pretty legit. Because even if China completely dropped out entirely, so what? You still got peer-to-peer trades. You've still got every other good thing that's going on. So I'll put it to you this way. They already have laws against exchanging currency, and it doesn't appear to stop capital flight. So if they add new laws against exchanging virtual currencies, then whatever mechanisms are used to trade the already illegal normal currencies will be used to trade crypto. So what coins do I own? I will tell you what I like. I like Bitcoin. I like Byteball. You got handed them for free if you're a coin holder. And yeah, I guess that's it. Everything else seems to me technically stupider. And if you're talking about technicals, the reason I like Byteball is because it doesn't use blocks and it doesn't use miners, and the user interface is super good, and the distribution was fair. So the downside to the Byteball system is that there's a single Russian dude in charge of it that's in charge of most of the coins. So, that's a giant risk. But technologically, the project seems pretty awesome. Then I think you also have, just the general risks of having a you have the general risks of having a federated system because they use trusted witnesses and you can choose your own witnesses and such. So like I would normally say witnesses are, a terrible, stupid idea. But right now there's so few attacks in the space against like the network level architecture. So you get attacks against the wallets, and you rarely see attacks against like pools and the actual like network infrastructure. Like you haven't seen a Sybil attack against nodes. I don't know why. Like if it were really like a hostile environment, you would expect more of that. So I'm starting in the short term to feel a little bit more okay with federated systems. And as soon as real attacks start showing up, federated systems aren't going to be good enough anymore. All right, I'm going to try and rejoin the stream and turn the stream back on. Hello.
All right.
How'd it
We'll
go?
just wait. We'll just wait for Rocky, and then we'll start it again.
All right. Do you want me to just like mute you until then and keep talking to my chat, or do you want me to leave you not muted? It's up to you.
I can be on mute. I'm not going to say anything, so yeah, keep talking to your chat. I'll just say, hey, we're going to start once Rocky gets in the room.
All right. So I'm going to be transmitting your audio and video so that you know. So You're live now until you ask me to unlive you.
Yeah.
All right. Reading chat.
Yeah, and everybody, I tweeted out, well.
I'll mute you.
Yeah, I tweeted out the new link.
So question in chat is proof of stake bullshit, or will there ever be a good reason to stop mining like Bitcoin does today? So proof of stake doesn't work unless it never gets attacked, and then could work for a while. All right, I'm going to come over. I'm here.
We're going to have
ready when you are.
So everything. Okay, I'm pushing start. Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Sorry about the technical difficulties we had before. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is September the 8th, 2017. And yeah, you can get your crypto HW wallet stuff, your leather case in the link section below. I'm going to have to update that soon. We just had to come back on air. I clicked the doomsday button here, and YouTube does not let you restart from your previous 30-second show. So anyway, it is such an exciting day that I clicked on the doomsday button, and now we're back, and we've got Richard Heart, we've got Rocky Palumbo, and we got Nick Carter coming to you, and we're going to address the big story of the day first, the rumors coming out of China that they're banning Bitcoin exchanges or cryptocurrency exchanges. They're closing the cryptocurrency exchanges. Is this really even happening? The price drops yet again 400 points on China rumors. I mean, I'm so used to this by now. It's just China killed Bitcoin again. So Richard, what is going on here?
So earlier today, there was a huge price dump on BitMEX, and it went from about 46 to 44 in a minute. And everyone was like, what's going on? And so everyone started messaging all of their contacts. And what appeared was an article from China that, when translated through Google Translate, stated that the ICO ban was just a first volley, a first attack, that there would be further regulations imposed, and that all cryptocurrency exchanges would be banned. However, peer-to-peer trade and blockchain technology would be unaffected, as long as you didn't, care about exchanging locally. So, as is commonly the news out of China, it is not a government official speaking. It is not a written policy. It is a Google translated reporter reporting what an unnamed source near something may have said. And so oftentimes is the case with China, they ban, unban, ban, unban, ban, unban. And they did this 10, 15 times over the years when Bitcoin was like the only crypto around. And it obviously ended in a state of being unbanned, which is why the price is, globally high, right? It's not like lower or particularly higher in China because it's unbanned, right? There's a lot of infrastructure there, tons of mining, tons of exchanges, tons of everything. So you can't trust what rumors you hear out of China, and you almost can't trust even like stronger sourced rumors because we couldn't trust them in the past. This is why in the West, the only laws you have to follow are the ones that are written. And, it seems like in China, if a government agency kind of mentions something, that everyone insta-dumps and does the best they can to not get like hacked up, which is an interesting system. It's I'm not sure that it's much better because I don't think China outperforms America anywhere except standardized testing and I guess advanced manufacturing now. But that's, we have the opportunity to recompete in that if we decide to spend money on it. So I believe that, if you look at the amount of volume that was dumped, and I don't have time to watch all the exchanges. I was just watching MEX because it was first. And if you're going to trade, it's good to use margin to reduce your counterparty risk. I tell everyone not to trade, but if you're going to, it's better to have less coins on an exchange than have the exchange disappear with all of them. On MEX, the volume indicated that there was only maybe $8 million of dump down from 4,400 to 4,200. And that's, just one or two big guys like playing around. That's not a big move. I don't think it's a big move. I wouldn't have been surprised to just see that price today anyway, like I wouldn't even buy more at that price, right? Like it's not, I'm not impressed with the move. And I'm not impressed with the volume, and I'm not impressed with the source of the rumor. However, we'll see. I still tell people about it because let them make their own decisions. If I have a hot rumor that I have like information about faster than other people, it's my job to like get it out there and give people my properly qualified, I heard this and I think this with this degree of certainty and here's why, and then let them make their own decisions based on that. I think that if you sell Bitcoin or crypto on news, you will get wrecked because most people do not care about the news. Like for instance, Vitalik started Ethereum 3, price barely moved. China really banned ICOs, which is like devastating to the Ethereum ecosystem because that's Ethereum's only use case is ICOs. It's the only reason anyone has ever bought an Ethereum is to get into an ICO. And if if Chinese ICOs were 40% of Ethereum volume, then it's a massive, massive harm to Ethereum, but the price was only slightly impacted, right? And so I don't suggest trading at all, and I don't suggest trading on news, and I don't suggest trusting China. You should go long and hold, and if you want a little bit of extra margin, take a little bit and go 2x or 5x long. There's a link in my channel if you need it, and that's it. Like, don't trade. You'll lose. You're the last guy to know. Why didn't you know ahead? I didn't know ahead. You're not going to know ahead. So, you're going to get wrecked by these random things. Don't trade.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much, Richard, for that opening. That puts everybody up to date on what's going on. And yeah, I'm a buy and hold guy too. Pound that like button, people. 90% of the time, traders lose. So I wanted to read this tweet that kind of sums up everything. It's from Beautyon. I'll link to it eventually. It was linked to in the original video for this that got cut off. Volatility on news from China shows that Bitcoin markets are still very immature as the men day trading on the exchanges. So yeah, there's a lot of people who call themselves traders and on these exchanges. I mean, they're just panickers. They buy into every rumor. It's the wild, wild west out there. I've said it a million times. Don't be a trader, man. It is 90% of the time you're going to lose. But just buy and hold is what I do. I love it. It's fun. You get to sit back and just know in the long term it's going to be okay. At least that's my opinion.
Can I mention? Go ahead.
Oh yes, Richard.
I was just going to say we dumped from 46 to 42, and now we're at 44. So the dump's already half over. So not very exciting.
But we'll see. We'll see what the real news is. Nick, what is your opinion on this? You two, Nick's got a great Twitter out there, and in his recent tweets, he's been saying, like, did China even really say this or not? So Nick, what's going on?
First of all, thanks for having me on. It's great that you give me this chance. My opinion, a Chinese trader friend of mine texted me earlier and told me Chinese regulators like to test the waters prior to making big moves. So am I of the opinion that this is entirely fabricated? Maybe not. The sources that I'm seeing, there's basically two big outlets the news came out on, Kai-Chen and the China Securities Journal. They're fairly credible, right? The source may be questionable, but is it an outright fabrication? I think that's pretty unlikely. My friend who is Chinese and he's sort of he likes to trade told me this is very common. You saw it in the equity markets before the regulators put limits on margin. Maybe this is just a precursor. And the exchanges, the Chinese exchanges, haven't heard anything yet from the regulators. A lot of people are calling this out as FUD and fake news. There's possibly more to it. Do I think it's a reason to sell your entire Bitcoin stack? Of course not. A lot of my smartest friends, academics, are absolutely terrible traders, right? And I wouldn't recommend trading on any news like this. I absolutely agree with Richard's analysis. I think this may have some legs to it, but ultimately, what percentage of global trading volume is China? I couldn't tell you, but it's definitely not the 90% that people thought it was back in 2016. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they make up that big of the market anyway. So we always overreact to everything China. When will the community get over syndrome here, where they must overreact to everything China, or is this just a way of speculators playing everyone? They'll always start to cause panics when they hear any news out of China. I don't know.
Well, I know that for Ethereum, China is 40% of the ICO purchasing, because I've personally spoken with people that have had multi-$100 million ICOs, and they personally told me in person that 40% of their sales volume in their ICO was Chinese, and Vitalik speaks fucking Mandarin. So Bitcoin might not be affected by China so much, but Ethereum is 100% for sure.
That is a very good, interesting point. I'm glad you brought the statistics. I wanted to point out that this whole dump that's been going on for the last 2 hours, it affected every cryptocurrency dropped. So it was just the people heard, oh, China's going to shut down exchanges. Let's sell all our cryptocurrency. That's what looks like has happened. But again, this is speculation. Even if China does do that, who cares? That there's a whole world out there. Think long-term, people. Rocky, what's your opinion on all this? Let's get to the great Rocky.
Well, what I read was that the Chinese exchanges stopped allowing fiat deposits, but continued to allow fiat withdrawals. So this, put a fear into everybody over there and thought, well, I better get, my withdrawals out while I can. And it just kind of, cascaded from there. But, it's hard getting good information if you're in China. We're going to have to wait a while to really find out what's going on over there.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone, we've had some technical difficulty. We're back on schedule. Pound that like button. And spread the word that we're over here. I can't see. I don't think I have my chat open, so sorry about. Or maybe I do. I'm still a little tumbled over here. Let's talk to Rocky. Let's transition into SegWit. It's obviously been implemented. Addresses are out there. More people are using it. What's going on? You wanted to tell us some stuff about SegWit, and then we'll get Richard to reply to what you have to say about what's going on with SegWit, because I've got some specific questions for Richard also.
Oh yeah, I'm screen sharing now.
Are you? Yeah. Are you?
Yeah, I was asking.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so as most people know, we got SegWit activated on August 23rd. So shortly after that, within a day or two, mining pools started mining blocks bigger than 1 meg. Bitfury was the first, and then 5 or 6 came on board shortly after that. But it wasn't until August 31st that Ampool started mining blocks bigger than 1 meg. And it wasn't until 5 days ago, on September 3rd, that via BTC started mining blocks with bigger than 1 meg. What's interesting here on this screenshot, or this screen I'm sharing here, is that our beloved Roger, more recently known as Bitcoin Lucifer, has been refusing to increase the maximum block size on his mining software. The miners have control over how big a block they can mine. Although they can't go over the maximum, they can still control, under the maximum. So even today, Bitcoin.com, which is owned by Roger, is still mining blocks only up to 1 meg. So he hasn't changed his maximum block size attribute to 4 megs. They could set it to 4 megs now. Core put out a memo to all the miners saying change your maximum block size allowed from 1 meg to 4 megs, because SegWit will allow up to 4 megs. So him refusing to do this, that's the big question. I mean, basically, he's a hypocrite. He's been going around for the better part of 2 years saying he wants bigger blocks. Now he can mine bigger blocks, and he's refusing to mine bigger blocks. While he's saying in his Coinbase here that he supports the New York Agreement, which means SegWit now and a 2 meg hard fork later. And he's also signaling here for BU, Bitcoin Unlimited, which means unlimited block size eventually. And so, all of his screaming about bigger blocks, bigger blocks, bigger blocks, now he can mine bigger blocks, and he's refusing to mine bigger blocks. But the good news is it doesn't matter. He's a small mining pool, comparatively speaking. Also, GB miners, they're in the same boat here. They refuse to change that setting on their mining software. The big one is BTC Top. They haven't changed their setting to 4 megs either. But they're right now, out of the past 300 and some blocks, let's see, we can take a look here. I think it was, 365 blocks. That's about 2.5 days worth of mining. BTC Top has mined found more blocks than anybody else. So they're a big mining pool, and they're refusing to do it. But again, the good news is I don't believe it's really necessary for all the pools to start doing it, because once the wallets kick into gear and get with the SegWit program and release new versions of their wallets that have SegWit in their GUI, that you'll see these green numbers here that are just a hair over 1 meg. You'll see these start to really grow to, from 1001. I think I saw like a 1000. Here's a 1011. These are going to grow to 1100, 1200, 1300, and but we need the wallets to support it. That's all we're really waiting for now. So that's about all I wanted to say about that.
Okay. Now, Richard, you probably have some replies there, but I wanted to make sure, Richard, that you mentioned, I've heard that you've said that there really are hardly any Bitcoin transactions that are actually going on. So why do we even need
if you want me to explain this, you ain't going to like the answer. I'll do it, but Bitcoin holders ain't going to like the answer.
Of course. I mean,
okay, I'm going to do it then. Okay. So there ain't no transaction volume. It's all spam.
Yeah, well, okay, that's very important. But can address, if he said anything about SegWit that you wanted to add to, please add.
Sure, SegWit's great. It stops transaction malleability, gets Lightning working faster, makes it easier for new people to develop on the ecosystem, whereas a lot of FUDsters would have told you it was harder. It's not. It's easier now. It gives us, instant savings to anyone that activates it in their wallet, and it frees up all of our political lobbying power and developer power to work on the next things. The sooner we get done with the thing that's been on the roadmap for a very long time, then the sooner we can move on to the next thing, which is Schnorr signatures, which is more space savings and makes anonymity and ring signatures cheaper and easier, and Mast, which I can't even remember all the things it does off the top of my head. And we've also got a lot of things in the pipeline to make Bitcoin work better. And you can't do those if you're still fighting the SegWit battle. So
yes, it's good that battle is over. I want you. So you're going to address in a second that one issue.
Sure.
But I want first. First, I want Nick. Do you have any SegWit thoughts?
I'm very pleased it finally went through. And from a perspective of what I've been working on for the last 3 months or so, which is trying to codify the way that governance works on not only Bitcoin but other coins as well. I'm very pleased because I think it's great evidence that economic nodes and users actually do have some governance power within the system, which was something hitherto people sort of disbelieved, right? But mostly there's this common belief that miners were somehow the overlords of Bitcoin, or that the core, if you looked in the academic literature, you'd see that many academics alleged that core developers controlled Bitcoin entirely in this sort of very narrow technocratic elite. And I think both of those notions have been disabused in the last few months. I've got my UASF hat right here. I fully endorse that movement. I hope you guys did as well. And I think SegWit, the ending of that intransigence, it shows us that economic nodes and not businesses and not miners and, not necessarily developers, that economic nodes they are the ultimate arbiter of power within the system. As for its technological merits, I'm probably not equipped to speak on that. But I would just say that it is a thoroughly gratifying event. And I think it really set the tone for the way things will go from now on.
Awesomeness. I wanted to say, everyone, pound that like button. I can see you in the chat. I wanted to thank Ken Bozak for sending me a super chat donation, and also Dan Williams. Dan is complimenting Ken Bozak over there. And also in the chat, they're saying this is another China hoax. Well, who knows? It's China FUD, to say the very least. This situation that's going on now is China FUD. If you have a strong hand and you're a long-time holder, a long-time thinker, this doesn't matter. It's just another day in the game. So I do want to address, since Richard is on here, and Richard is controversial, and Richard's going to say, what comes to mind on his mind. He's not scared of anything. He has pointed out that not that many people use Bitcoin. Richard, elaborate on this. Do people actually use cryptocurrency?
So I'll just start off with the most terrifying figure is that if you chart all the Bitcoin wallets that you can identify in the blockchain, it's all publicly available. There's something like 5.1 million that have over $1, and that's it. So that means one of two things. Either there's only 5.1 million users, which is obviously not true. I think Coinbase has 20 million, some number of millions on their own, and that's just one single American exchange. So what is much more likely the case is that many holders and purchasers of Bitcoin don't hold their own keys and instead have funny money, fiat, IOU, credit tokens on an exchange, which is fun and games until the exchange fails or has regulatory problems or is hacked, which I believe is an inevitability. I believe with 100% certainty every exchange will be hacked, always, because it's the most profitable hack anyone can perform if you assign value to not having to hide the money. If you do normal criminal computer stuff, you can get a bunch of bank wires, but now you've got to keep the money somehow. Bitcoin doesn't have that problem. You get to keep the money. So it's like the price increase plus computer security being a joke in general, plus you can keep your winnings without any effort, makes attacking exchanges insanely profitable. So right now, 5.1 million addresses with over $1 in them is a gigantic problem. And it means a lot of people are exposing themselves to exchange risk that they don't need. And it also means we have a lot of room to grow, which is pretty cool. Retail adoption is an absolute joke. You're going to eat more costs in the bid-ask spread and the purchase fees from an ATM or from a local Bitcoins transaction just to get your Bitcoin that you'll never recover on the other side selling them. So no intelligent person would purchase Bitcoin to actually use them unless they were availing themselves of the pseudo-anonymity and like light ability to transact anonymously. You still have to do things to be protected. If you're using the coin for that, then it makes sense to pay a premium, right? Like if you're a darknet market guy, then it makes sense to pay premium. But if you're any other normal human being, the only use case that makes sense to purchase Bitcoin for is to buy it and hold it as a replacement for gold. And that's enough. If Bitcoin is just a settlement layer and it's just a replacement for digital gold, that is more than enough value. That's 20,000 a coin minimum at 5% of gold's value. And that's without all of the extra possible future growth and alternative use cases such as darknets. That would be just 5% of gold's, hold value. So imagine how high the price will go when you can use it as a currency. Imagine how high the price will go when the First Nation state adopts it. Imagine how high the price will go when other little cryptos die from security problems or lack of circular economic interaction. Like there's a whole bunch of amazing, we've got the best team, the longest track record, the most secure software, a network that's always up. The Ethereum network's down often. You can't transact. The wallets turn their wallets off. The exchanges turn their wallets off. Geth and Parity disagree with each other. Huge code bloat. They've got a bigger blockchain, but magically now are still mining smaller blocks than Bitcoin is. So, Bitcoin is the best cryptocurrency that exists and is likely to be the best cryptocurrency that will ever exist. However, it's nowhere near its potential currently, which in my opinion makes it a great purchase. So it's bad, but it's getting better and the price is going to go up. So that's great.
Okay, that wasn't too scary there, man. That wasn't too scary. Do any of the panel members have any thoughts on what Richard just said?
I think it's a fantastic point. And if you look at the way that Wall Street folks evaluate Bitcoin, they look at retail adoption and they say, like, this is terrible. Nobody accepts Bitcoin. But, this is probably the year when people realize it's not necessarily for retail use in its current state. And it's a real mistake to value it on that basis. If any of you follow Ari Paul on Twitter, he runs a large fund now, really influential. He says the same exact stuff. It's an unseizable store of value first and foremost. Everything else is secondary. If it can fulfill that use case, that's good enough. And Bitcoin's network value is sort of approaching the amount that's held in ETFs that track gold. We're not far away from that. If you think it can recapture the entire value of the gold outstanding in the world, that's about $8 trillion. So you can easily do the math. Ultimately, I don't think Bitcoin would be particularly useful for private transactions. We've seen blockchain analysis has become very sophisticated in the last year, incredibly sophisticated. The website I run, Coinmetrics, which seeks to give analytics to folks to figure out what kind of transaction volume we're looking at. So this answers the question of what sort of actual on-chain transaction volume occurs. We do a little bit of blockchain analysis for that to figure out which transactions are real and which ones are change outputs. It's very, very simple to de-anonymize Bitcoin. There was a report just the other week that, the cookies that leak your information whenever you do a Bitcoin transaction online, that can de-anonymize your account. So unless you're using Tor and you bought your Bitcoins on local Bitcoins, anonymously, you're basically out of luck, right? And you're going to have to go towards one of the privacy cryptos. The biggest Bitcoin mixer shut down, right? And the biggest Bitcoin exchange without KYC AML also shut down. It might be back up now, but basically, if you want to buy drugs online, Bitcoin is not the way to do it.
That's a beautiful conclusion there. I like to hear that.
Can I add something onto that anonymity part?
Oh, yeah, please.
So everyone that has a problem with the old go to jail thing, they almost, if you look at like what happened in the individual cases, they always have giant OPSEC problems outside the currency. And the currency is just an afterthought. I can only think of maybe one instance maybe, and it's just a rumor that I didn't look into, of the currency itself being the source of someone's problems. Everyone's doing something illegal and getting caught problems starts with bad browsers, bad location, bad name leakage, reusing of passwords, like all of those things. And has like, so even though technically against like a nation state attacker, you don't have anonymity with Bitcoin, most people never ever have a problem with it. And the investigators' times are full prosecuting all the idiots that screwed up everywhere else. So, I mean, I'm just saying it is actually today useful enough for anonymity, although it may not always be the case.
Excellent. I also want to go back to a point that you said before, that all exchanges will be hacked eventually. If that's true, if that's not true, that's an attitude everyone should have, though, because you should control your own private key. You should control your own private address. This is not about relying on third parties. I've said it many times. People have tried to argue with me saying, oh man, I keep my coin at an exchange. I was able to get Bcash right away. And they give these little examples. And then I say, well, if you were at BTC-E, you would have lost everything you had you kept everything there. I mean, so the bottom line is people should, if your exchange eventually gets hacked, if it doesn't, you should just think it is. Control your private key. Security is something that is so important here. Rocky, we've said a mouthful since we last talked to you. What do you, any opinions, anything you have to say here?
Yeah, well, I see a Bitcoin user as anyone who uses Bitcoin, no matter what they're using it for. If you are buying it to hold long term, you're still using it as a store of value. It doesn't matter that you're not making transactions every day. You're still using Bitcoin. Or if you're using it for transactions once a day, once a week, once a month, you're using Bitcoin. Or even a retail store that accepts Bitcoin and turns that into fiat instantly, they're still using Bitcoin. They're using Bitcoin to attract new customers. So I see all of these situations as people using Bitcoin. But as far as retail goes, here in the United States, it is rather low. I am pretty confident that's going to change here in the coming years as Bitcoin gets more popular. It's kind of the egg before the chicken thing. The retailers don't want to accept it till a lot of their customers have it, and the customers don't want it till the retailer accepts it. So we got that going on. And also here in the States, our fiat, for as bad as our system is, our fiat with the credit cards and everything works pretty good to other places around the world. But I hear a lot of reports about other places around the world. You walk down the street there and you see lots of businesses that have the signs that they accept it, like this one here. This doesn't say accepted here. This says traded here. This is back from my trading days. I used to put out this sign on the table. But so I hear that you walk down in Tokyo, you walk down the street and a lot of the merchants there have these signs in the window. They're accepting Bitcoin. It's just not here in the States yet. It's mostly used for store of value here.
I want to say beforehand Richard brought up Richard, you're pretty critical of Ethereum on a certain level. Yep. But I want to expand things into the newbie factor. We've got so many newbies joining the space who are pumping up these ICOs, and it becomes more apparent every week that they're a huge part of the market, and it's just something we're going to have to deal with. There's just a lot of irrational exuberance out there, just pumping up all sorts of things. So, Richard, I want you to start the discussion here amongst the panel. What is up with the newbie factor here? Is it something we should be concerned about? Is it something we should embrace? Are they skewing the market? What's your opinion?
Most ICOs are terrible scams, and most of the teams that are getting funded have never done anything good before. And the more money you give them, the more outrageous their claims, the more likely they are to fail. So you've got people being given too much money who don't know how to use it properly, that are trying to do the wrong things that the market won't reward anyway. So it's bad on a bunch of levels, because when either the people trying to do the thing stop trying to do it, or they get regulated out of existence, or they find out that they were incapable of doing it, or the market said, no, we don't want it, the prices are going to come down. And or when enough ICOs dump their Ethereum and there's a race for the exits, Ethereum goes to zero. Ethereum was zero not so long ago. The Ethereum Foundation was almost out of money. And then with enough pumping from guys like Lubin, you eventually end up with a lot of money and an ecosystem which apparently has produced no successful distributed applications whatsoever, and is just a fancy way to I guess, play stupidity lottery. So, I mean, it's all fun and games till the music stops and people start searching for chairs. But when the race for the exits happens, you're going to be the last to find out about it, because the 100 people that hold the vast majority of Ethereum, because all the idiots handed it to them, are going to know last, right? So for the same reason the Bitcoin price jumped $200 today without you being warned about it, is the same reason Ethereum will dump harder without you being warned about it. I mean, this has already happened. So GDAX flash crashed when some Ethereum holder hit sell, sold the whole order book, and people's stop losses got executed at a penny, right? So you have to learn to do things like don't use stop market orders, you use stop limit orders, right? And even that isn't a perfect solution. So Ethereum is less retail adoption, more attack surface, competing implementations. Smart contracts are worth nothing. A smart contract is just a program. That's all it is. And programs are only useful for manipulating inputs. And inputs in a contract are data, like stock prices. Like, oh, we're going to make a smart contract that trades stocks. Well, if you noticed earlier this year, the New York Stock Exchange published publicly incorrect stock prices for all of their stocks. So imagine if your smart contract was trusting the New York Stock Exchange to tell the truth about their prices. It might have been NASDAQ, but I think it was nice. Your contract would be screwed, your system would be screwed, and then some god would have to go back and fix the chain, which breaks the whole thing. So the reason that Bitcoin has existed for 9 years or 8 years and had only one successful app currency is because that's what it's good at. And the reason Ethereum has lasted for as long as it has and has no successful apps whatsoever is because it only has one successful use case, which is for a more standardized way to issue new tokens. Now, I am working on a token, and I am going to use that ecosystem, which I disparage so very much, but I'm going to do it as little as possible because I see it as a quite bad thing.
Oh, excellent. Nick, you analyze crypto assets. I'm sure you have some thoughts on what Richard just said, and you might have some thoughts on some other altcoins too. So I'll give you the floor there.
All right, so I'm starting a research desk, basically to deliver "quote unquote" fundamental research to an institutional crowd, right? Because there's a huge demand for that. Me and my partner disagree very stridently about Ethereum, right? I'm an Ethereum skeptic. I basically agree with Richard's analysis there, and he likes Ethereum. I don't see any way the Ethereum. I don't want to call it a bubble, but Ethereum's inflated price, I don't see how it can be unwound without harming a lot of retail investors and basically doing a huge amount of damage to the system at large. I think it's fairly toxic, and it's contagious, right? So it affects Bitcoin as well, even though Bitcoin has virtually nothing to do with the ICO fever. You can buy some ICOs with Bitcoin, but it's not the principal asset there. And Richard is absolutely right. I was looking back at the first ICOs, seeing have any of them delivered a product, a beta that works, that has 5 million active users. And the answer is simply no, right? What's one of the longest running and best funded projects aside from Ethereum? Something like Augur, maybe. And Augur is basically in development hell right now. And if you believe Paul Stork, then Augur will never yield a marketable product at all, because it has serious sort of foundational problems. I'm deeply skeptical of Ethereum. I wanted to participate, back in the day, and then the DAO catastrophe occurred, and I realized that the foundation was not committed to running it as they had marketed it. I believe Ethereum Classic is probably the fairer chain of the two. and that you have to own your mistakes. And if you write a bad smart contract and you claim that you want to build unsolvable applications, then you have to own that, and you can't just roll back the chain arbitrarily, because what that does is it exposes the foundation to a lot of subsequent risk, because now they're going to be asked to roll back the chain. Now Putin has influence over Vitalik. Putin sees it as a way to expand his soft power, perhaps, where it might be lacking. It's, a sort of centralized currency, and Ethereum is much more centralized than Bitcoin in every manner imaginable. Even if you look at the mining, I think that a couple of pools have over 51% between the two of them. You look at the foundation that controls the purse strings. You look at the fact that it was a token sale, so it's much more poorly distributed. In every conceivable dimension of centralization, Ethereum is more centralized than Bitcoin. I see it ending really catastrophically, and probably with some sort of state intervention. And I hope regulators do something about it sooner rather than later. And I was surprised that the SEC said Ethereum is not a security, because I consider it to be one, even though I'm not right.
This has turned into a centralization talk about Ethereum. I did not plan on talking that much about Ethereum today. I was talking about the newbies pumping everything up, but newbies don't care about centralization or decentralization. They just want to make a quick buck. And hey, ICOs are the way to go, apparently, with that. If you want your 100% return, and I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that's what the newbies say. Rocky, do you have any opinion on any of this real quick?
Yeah, well, like Richard said, Ethereum's really only good for one thing, and that's for putting these ICOs on top of it. And with the Securities Exchange Commission coming out saying that these ICOs are basically illegal securities, why isn't the price of Ethereum $10 right now? I don't know. Wall Street has a saying about people investing in stuff they don't know about. They call it dumb money. And I would have to say there's a lot of dumb money in the crypto space.
So
Richard, did I interrupt you? Okay, continue, Richard. Sorry.
So I look at problems as binary. You can either deal with them now, or you'll have to deal with them later, and they'll be worse. So the best time to kill a monster is when it's young and weak. And the larger you let the monster get, the more and more reluctant you are to deal with it. I mean, to give you an inflammatory example, North Korea had no nukes and no way to deliver them. Now they have nukes. Now they're working on ways to deliver them. And if you chart that out, do you want to wait until you can't intervene, or do you want to intervene? Now, if you watch Noam Chomsky's position on it, he says that America derives some benefit from what's going on, and the analysis is so advanced that I can't do it justice here. But my point is that Ethereum is going to crash, and you can either do it now with less pain for everybody, or you can do it later with more pain. So I made a funny image with Ethereum as like the queen alien, and then pumping out little egg drone ICO aliens that grow up and attack. And so you can either, if you kill the queen, it kind of gets rid of some of those other problems. Now, that's not to say, I support having an ERC20 analog on Bitcoin through something like Rootstock or equivalent, because if we're going to have people making stupid mistakes and doing stupid things, it's better that they do those stupid things and stupid mistakes on a more secure system. So at least they're not losing $50 million to poorly implemented multisig, or unable to transact because Geth and Parity disagree on the state of the network, because those design decisions are not getting fixed. So if everyone in the world's going to be stupid, then let's have them stupid on a more secure system. So I think as soon as Bitcoin rolls out sidechains through drivechain.info with Paul Stork sports, or through Rootstock with basically smart contracts on Bitcoin, either one of those should be truly damaging to Ethereum. And even Tezos, if Tezos works and has formally verifiable smart contracts that are less buggy, you'll still have bugs outside your test cases, but at least for what you can test, it'll be formally proven great. Even that kills Ethereum. So I don't I think the project's the worst. Not the worst, but bad.
Hey, Richard, there's a Dan Williams in the chat. Once he sent $2 through Super Chat. Thank you. He wants you to straighten your candles. He says your candles.
Yeah,
are not,
I know.
It's your personal.
I don't feel like fixing it. It's just so hard. I just want to leave it.
I love your background, man. I wish I had some candles here. Pound that like button if you like backgrounds other than my own boring one here. I want to say let's move on from getting to a little bit more of an altcoin discussion here, because everyone loves to hear about altcoins sometimes. Nick, as you know, we've had Bcash fork off from Bitcoin, and we've had the threat of 2x doing that. And I call this a crypto dividend. I just look at it as free coins for those of us who hold Bitcoin. It is just a way. It's just a unique way of forming an altcoin. That's the way I like to describe it to people, because people understand that these forks, although they are not friendly forks, they're not a threat to Bitcoin. They're actually something that can be looked at in a way to get more of the real Bitcoin, even though they're trying to pretend to be Bitcoin. So at the same time, I've discovered something called B Gold, again, which is a friendly fork of Bitcoin that's going to happen, and there probably going to be a lot of other altcoins forming just by forking Bitcoin, by forming these crypto dividends. So I want to hear your opinion on, well, what do you think about these forks? Is it a trend? Is it something to be worried about? Or is it a positive? What's your opinion?
I think it's great that you've started a conversation about this, because talking about dividends and cash flows, that's the kind of stuff that gets institutional finance interested. They love productive assets. And if you can make the case that Bitcoin is a productive asset, people are going to love that. The institutional money sitting on the sidelines. And that's actually what I've been working on recently. I ran the numbers, and in the last year, if you hold Bitcoin and you sold all of your airdrops, your forks, whatever, anything that's not Bitcoin that you get from owning Bitcoin, we're talking Stellar, we're talking Clams back in the day, and now B Gold is forthcoming, and then previously Bitcoin Cash, and then you also had Byteball. If you add all those up in the last year, that's a 30% return just from holding one Bitcoin, just in dividends. If you sold them day one, the first time you were able to sell them, right? So if Bitcoin's flat, a 30% yield is fantastic, right? This was probably an unusual year in the history of Bitcoin because there was the large airdrop from Bcash. If you can begin to market Bitcoin as a productive asset, and I believe it is, because essentially what you have is these neutral dividend spin-offs. They rent Bitcoin's network basically as it is on a snapshot, and they distribute their token, and then it has perceived value because due to the endowment effect, people own those tokens all of a sudden, and then they believe them to have value. So value is created out of thin air to some degree, but it works, right? It worked with Stellar, it's worked with Byteball, it maybe worked with Bcash, although that's a special case. So on the one hand, you do have those neutral or sort of benevolent airdrops. On the other, you have what I call a hostile spinoff, to borrow the language of stocks. I think that's a term that I think is fairly appropriate to something like S2X, where you have a small group of people behind closed doors make an agreement, decide they want to alter Bitcoin, they want to alter the governance structure as well, so that a select few make decisions that are favorable to whoever is behind them, and not implement replay protection. I think there's a distinction there. On the one hand, you've got stuff like Byteball and Stellar that run space on the network, and everybody wins there, basically. Bitcoin holders immediately sell the dividend, cash it in, earn a nice yield. On the other hand, you have hostile spinoffs. So you might think of them as dividends, but if you're worried that they're going to steal a portion of the network away, then you might call it a spinoff, right? Like when eBay and PayPal split, that was a spinoff. So there is precedent in the equity world. If the newcomer represents a threat to the incumbent, I think it's fair to call them hostile. Bcash ended up being fairly neutral. It was diffused. S2X, I think, will be a harder fight. I would call it hostile, and I think that's probably more of a threat than a dividend.
Well, I'll say this about 2X. I mean, the more friendly forks that happen before 2X, I think it helps neuter what 2X is trying to do, because it just shows it to be nothing but an unfriendly fork, an unfriendly way to form an altcoin. So I look at these, the friendly forks, I encourage them because I think they minimize the unfriendly forks. The friendly forks minimize the unfriendly forks. So I'm all for, it's a free country, it's a free world. People have been forming altcoins for a long time. This is a new way to form an altcoin and distribute it to each his own. And Nick, I think it's fascinating that you are studying this. I think this is great. Rocky, what do you think about all of this?
Altcoins are really just, copies of Bitcoin, and they change this or that parameter and trying to make it better in this or that way. And but what you got to realize is it could go the other way. Bitcoin can also copy what they're doing if the Bitcoin core team, or the people in Bitcoin in general see one of these altcoins has a feature that really is valuable and they want to add it to Bitcoin, it could be added to Bitcoin. So you got to realize it's a two-way street. So the way I've been looking at it lately is that all these people investing in all these altcoins, they're investing in Bitcoin research.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. Richard, Bcash, 2X, friendly forks, what do you have to say?
So the difference between a friendly fork and an unfriendly fork, I'm just going to say, has replay protection or not. So a fork that doesn't have replay protection causes a lot of work and effort to avoid harm on the behalf of users and of developers all around the original ecosystem. Wallets, nodes, miners, everybody has to do things to protect themselves from stupid, contentious forks, which Jeff Garzik apparently is okay with making contentious. There's this axis of evil out there that is promoting anything but Bitcoin. There's an axis of evil out there that wants to see Bitcoin get replaced by something they're in charge of and they brought into the world. And these guys are Roger Ver, Jeff Garzik, a Maori who goes by Daedalus he's the guy that wrote the code for Bitcoin ABC, which is basically Bcash. Who else? Jihan Wu is a Bcash guy. Fake Satoshi, CSW, is a Bcash guy. And all of these defectors, these guys that want to replace the real Bitcoin that you worked hard for, paid dearly for, has new developments on it every 30 minutes, has real old school cypherpunks like Adam Back who invented Hashcash, and Satoshi quoted in the white paper, one of like maybe 2 or 3 humans that he quoted in the white paper. One of them's Adam Back on Bitcoin Core's team. Another is Nick Szabo, who coined the term smart contract. Okay, he invented it, right? He invented his own thing that would have been Bitcoin had he figured it out a little bit better. So the point is, these fake everything except Bitcoin usurpers to the throne, who consist of Jeff Garzik, Roger Ver, Jihan Wu, Fake Satoshi, and a Maori, I'm not exactly sure what binds them together. Geographically, they're in different places. Background-wise, they're into different things. But some strange bedfellow's very bad reason causes them to want to do harm to the real Bitcoin, and that sucks because you can't kill Bitcoin. The money badger don't care. That's right, money badger with an M. But you can slow shit down. So, more stupid and more, we could be talking about something else right now instead of that. I want to call those guys out for general suckage. And anyone that wants to look into that suckage, maybe you can convince them to be less contentious, have replay protection, and stop wasting everyone's time on bad ideas. That'd be great. Now, as far as non-contentious hard forks, I think it's awesome. If your option is to try and experiment out on some new thing, which requires a bunch of people to put money into it, well, that's a costly experiment that's very likely to fail, because the set of things which fail is infinite, but the set of things which is actually improvement is quite small. That's why in medicine, the first rule is do no harm, because it's much easier to do harm than it is to do right. So if B Gold wants to implement GPU mining on Bitcoin, bringing it back to how I used to mine, I'm more than happy to see that. And the more experiments that get brought into an ecosystem that's already well tested for security, has great wallet addressing schemes, has a ton, like everything that can be good, we've got good in the security space. And for experiments to launch on that more secure system, already preloaded with holders and enthusiasts off of the mother of all good blockchains, I'm very happy to see that. So I'm all for non-contentious hard forking for experiments. Have fun. Just don't steal the brand, don't steal the logos, and don't try and confuse people. Do your own thing, make it special, make it good, and I wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Hey, we have reached the end of the show, and I want everyone to pound that like button, of course, but all our guests, you probably have conclusionary remarks, stories of the week. I know, Rocky, you sent a message. You want to talk about something. So we're going to go from Nick to Rocky, and then Richard will end it up. So Nick, is there a story of the week or something you wanted to share with everyone, something that we left off, or if you had a reply to what Richard said? The floor is yours, Nick.
I agree 100% with Richard. I think these basically charlatans deserve to be called out. They do seek to damage the brand, to co-opt it. They believe what they're promoting is the real thing, the original vision. They're wrong. It's our responsibility as the arbiters of the community and the public faces of something which is essentially an algorithm, to call them out and to stop them damaging the brand and the values, the billions of value of household income and savings, which is tied up in this product. What they may believe they're correct, and that's why they're not implementing replay protection. So they want to destroy the incumbent and promote their new thing. They will ultimately fail. But we definitely need to hasten their demise by calling them out publicly. Aside from that,
sorry, that was a great comment. I usually don't even say all those guys' names because I don't like to give them any, and I still haven't said their names. I'll let Richard say their names. But yeah, it's good that people understand who they are, who the bad actors are. I try to not even put them on a pedestal at all, so we just forget about those dudes. Because the more attention some of them get, it gives them this pedestal to wreak havoc even more. But hey, someone just sent $10. Thank you, Dan Williams. Average in, hold. Yes, hold, baby. All right, Nick, was there something else you were going to say, a story of the week or anything like that?
A couple of news items that I found funny. Ethereum ETF basically withdrawn from consideration. So that's the end of that. No surprise there. All the objections the SEC had to the Bitcoin ETF applied 1,000-fold to the Ethereum product. So sorry about that, Ethereum. These Canadians in British Columbia, I believe, have been granted custodial rights over Bitcoin, which means it's a matter of time until we see a Bitcoin product in Canada, which I would say is sort of conditionally good for the system. I know some other panelists on the show might disagree. And I would say a small matter of time until the SEC gets their act together and creates a proper Bitcoin ETF, probably through Grayscale. That's my guess. So a few months out.
Hey, Nick, you referenced Ari Paul before. I just wanted to say and remind everyone, he was on this show last week. So everybody check out last week's This Week in Bitcoin. Check out yesterday's show also. I post a new video every day. We have archives here. It's great. Dan Williams again in the chat. Thank you for that $10 super chat. I appreciate that, those fiat donations, people. All right, let's go to Rocky here. Rocky, you had some stuff you wanted to share and some conclusionary remarks. Take it away.
Yeah, some really good news about SegWit is we got our first software wallet to support it, Armory, earlier this week. not a really widely used wallet. They used to be bigger in the space, but then they had some issues, and they're trying to make a comeback now. But they do support SegWit now. But I'd really like to talk about Ledger for a moment. Maybe your connection at Crypto HW Wallet has a channel to Ledger and can let them know my thoughts on this. But I really like my Ledger. I got the Nano, the regular Nano without the S. I've had it for about 2 years now. Love it. It always worked perfectly. Bcash came along and they handled that quickly and well. I like the way they did it. But when SegWit came along, I don't like that at all. They once you pick Bitcoin, and then you have to pick to go into Bitcoin Legacy Wallet or the Bitcoin SegWit wallet, and inside there they call it the Bitcoin Legacy Chain or the Bitcoin SegWit chain. They're not two separate chains. That's very misleading, and we don't need any more confusion in the space. They're two separate ways of doing an address in the same chain. All these addresses go into the same block, and that same block gets added to the same chain. It's not separate chains. So they need to change that. They need to, all the wallet developers need to update their software and just make it simple, please. Most users just want to send and receive Bitcoin. They don't need to know all the details behind it. When they go to send Bitcoin, they create an address, and the only thing they should see different is that there's a 3 in the front instead of a 1. That's the only thing, and maybe have in the settings have like a basic and expert mode, and it just defaults to basic once you upgrade your wallet to this new version. And so in basic mode, that's the only thing you see different is that 3 instead of the 1. And when you go to spend Bitcoin, it just automatically takes care of it for you. It just automatically tries to spend your legacy addresses first. And when those are all gone, then start sending SegWit addresses. So it's just like a slow conversion from having more legacy addresses to having all SegWit addresses. And then if a user, feels like they want more control, they could go into the settings, select the expert mode, and then they could, for each individual transaction they want to make or transaction where they're sending, they could go in and pick which ones they want to, send legacy Bitcoin or from legacy addresses or SegWit addresses. But on the surface, to the average user, it should just be all seamless and all just work behind the, behind the GUI. They don't need to know really any of this. I know so many people that drive cars every day, and they couldn't tell you the difference between a crankshaft and a camshaft. Most people don't care. They just want to put gas in the gas tank and drive. Bitcoin's the same way. They just want to make transactions. Don't give them the details unless they select expert mode.
Wow, Rocky, thank you for that insight into what's going on over there at Ledger. It's a cool storage device and everything. I use a Trezor, to each his own, but this is, things are made complicated sometimes, and that is unfortunate. Do you have anything else to add, any other stories or anything like that before we go to Richard?
Well, don't get me wrong. I love my Ledger. It's a good product. It's always worked perfect for me. And just, they just haven't handled this SegWit thing very well. And I'm hoping they come out with another update and improve it.
Okay, awesome. I'd like to thank, again, the people in the chat. Thank you, Adam, for the good work. I am new to cryptocurrency, and I have learned a lot from your channel. Thank you. She sent, who was that sent $5 Canadian? I am in Quebec right now, speaking of Canada. That was Joe. Joe sent that. And then San also sent $10. That was really cool. Okay, Richard, I want you to just tell us whatever's on your mind now. You mentioned something before. Do you have your own token coming out? What was that you mentioned before?
Yeah, I have a serial entrepreneur, inventor, physicist friend who's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he wrote his own computational fluid dynamic software, which is faster and more accurate than what everyone else uses right now. There's stagnation in the space. Everyone's been using the same software for 15 years. There's a single company that's got a 90% monopoly. And, if you want to overcome an incumbent in something like that, Well, you got to use every tool you can to find advantage. And the advent of being able to create a giant supercomputing computational fluid dynamics network that you can just give a problem and it gives you the result faster and more accurately than the state of the art that already exists is like one of the few places where you can actually make the case for a new token. You're like, yep, it's a new network. It needs to be fast. It needs to be strong. And, you know, this is what supercomputers are actually made for. So mining Bitcoin, that's not actually supercomputing. It's just doing the very stupidest, simplest math possible by design. However, doing real computation, trying to predict, you know, aerosols, two-phase flow, heat, movement, turbulence, you know, all of those things, you know, that's the reason everyone still uses Fortran. That's the reason that we have these giant supercomputers, is to do exactly that kind of stuff. So I love the idea of being able to have a token that is useful for something that's not just, you know, oh, look, a new token, trade it or whatever. I love the real technical necessity and breakthrough in it. So hopefully you'll be able to see a white paper within a week, I hope. Like, I can at least get you the technical details on the stuff that's already built. You know, the software exists. It's not vaporware. It's not, oh, we're going to build it. It already exists. It just needs a GUI and a network behind it. So I think on Bitcoin, you're going to have confidential transactions and anonymity features built into it. And it's going to come from Bitcoin Core, and blockchain's going to help build it, and they're going to support it. And they're real cypherpunks. And at the core of the cypherpunk ethos is user choice, user privacy, and empowering the individual, and not the state, and not the company, and not the collectivists. So real cypherpunks, they write code, and the code that they're going to write is going to be anonymity code, and it's going to go into Bitcoin. Furthermore, replay attacks, if you take my speech on my network of choice that I choose to participate in, and copy it and repeat it and scream it out into the world and do me harm with it, you are my enemy. If you perform a replay attack and repeat my speech to do me harm, you're an asshole and you should be punished for it. So if I were in a restaurant having a private conversation with somebody and you decided to roll up and stand next to me and listen to me and start yelling the rest of the restaurant what I was saying, you would be socially ostracized, if not worse. So I take replay attacks seriously, and I believe that they are attacks, and I think that more people should treat them as someone trying to fuck with your money. And that's, you know, something that you don't do in most parts of the world. So, real supercomputer does cool stuff. Love it. Anonymity's coming. Replay attacks bad. Ethereum bad. Dump it. If you're going to buy Bitcoin, dips are a nice place to do it. And, you know, I tell everyone don't trade. But if you are going to trade, do it one time and go long, and that's it. So on my Twitter, I've got a link. It's like an AF link to BitMEX because they give you good margins. So you don't have to risk much on their system if they ever disappear. And just take a small little bit of your stack and go 2x long, 5x long, and that's it. Don't ever trade again, and don't panic sell, and don't be dumb, or don't trade at all. So that's all.
Dude, I love Richard. Those are really great conclusionary points there. I want to thank all of my guests for being on the show today. You're excellent. Nick was new. Richard hasn't been on here before, but everybody knows Richard. And Rocky is, of course, a returning guest. I want to give a special shout out, though, to Richard because he's been broadcasting this on his channel. And we had some amazing technical difficulties at first. I had to totally restart the show on my end. So any of you who like to see behind the scenes stuff, or you like to see me panic, or you can check out the replay on Richard's, and you'll see everything that went down, and then you'll be amazed how smoothly this version of the show went on my channel that you're now watching in the future, no doubt, enjoying the price of Bitcoin and laughing, saying, "Oh, it was only worth $4,600 last year, and look how Adam was so panicked," or whatever. Anyway. So, and I'd like to thank Michael Cotton very much. He sent me £2, I think, or €2. Everyone's been very generous today, and I have been a bit vertummelt and everything, as they say in the Yiddish. But now, hey, it all worked out well. It was a really awesome show, and it's all thanks to my awesome guests. I'm so proud to have the best guests in the space on this show. I try it every Friday. We're here. We'll be back at noon next Friday. Tour de Meister is going to be one of the guests. So will Tawanda Kembo. He'll be coming from Zimbabwe. So it's going to be really unique. I post a new show here every day. Obviously, we don't do This Week in Bitcoin every day. We only do that on Friday. But so, keep on coming back here. If you're new to the channel, check out disruptmeister.com. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister.
Can I just add something, Adam?
Yes, please, Rob.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that next week, Wednesday on next week, is my next meetup. So if you're in the Southern California area, it's right in the Upland, Ontario border in the Inland Empire. And I've been doing this for 1 year now. So you can see here a history on our website here. You can see the history of the date and the price of Bitcoin. So on September 27th, last year was my first meeting and Bitcoin was $603. So if anybody wants to come and you're in the area, just shoot me an email here at this address, rockyplumbo@outlook.com, and ask to be put on the user group mailing list, and you'll receive all the details on the location and time.
Yeah, Rocky, sorry, I saw you put that in the side chat. I didn't see that till the very end. Also, I wanted to point out that everybody's links, pertinent links, are below for the 3 guests if you want to further explore who they are and everything. And Rocky's address is down there and everything. And I guess, Richard, are you going to still be live broadcasting after this, or is this going to end with me here?
I'll probably just talk to my chat in the Discord and maybe voice with them, because I'd rather turn this light off. It's hot in here.
Cool. I just wanted to put that out there. Nick, any last thing before I sign it off?
I think I'm doing some interesting stuff with data, so please check out my website.
Yeah, his links.
Can I mention, follow me on Twitter if you don't already? It's Richard Heart, like the one in your chest. Win. Richard Heart. Win. That's it.
Yeah, and his link is definitely below in the notes section. So check out the notes section, people. I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video. Check out the notes section below. Pound that like button. Thank you, guys. We are out of here. It's Friday. Have fun. Bye-bye. All right. Very good. Thank you, everyone.